Just woke up and I thought about something. If this wrote all these songs that he claiming he wrote, why he ain't write no more? Oh wait.
Kevin McCall, once known as one of the smoothest and most talented figures in the R&B scene, recently opened up in a shocking interview on Back on Fig with T-Rell and Smack. He got emotional while explaining how he believes Chris Brown ruined his career, even tearing up during the conversation. But when the clip went viral, fans were split, with many defending Chris Brown. The controversy started when Kevin claimed he helped write songs for Chris but never got paid. He pointed out that "Look at Me Now," often seen as Chris's hit, was really Busta Rhymes' track, hinting that he didn't get proper credit for his work. Things got even deeper when Kevin mentioned issues with several other artists, saying they also didn't pay him. At that point, people began questioning his business dealings, because when one artist doesn't pay you, that's one thing. But when everyone supposedly does the same, it starts looking like something bigger was going on. Meanwhile, Chris Brown's side of the story paints a totally different picture.
Judge, when keep moving and going to Atlanta, you have you don't have no rights out of wedlock. So then when I done did 3 years in prison, that shit was a whole little, all these little shits that come on, I can't even fight the Chris Brown shit. I got all type, I didn't get paid for Look at Me Now. I wrote on that. I wrote a whole verse, then Busta Rhymes cut the verse off, but I still did this part. What was we talking about? I need that bread.
Sources close to him say Kevin didn't actually write all the songs he's claiming, meaning he wouldn't be owed payment for those tracks. And that's where the divide starts. Who's telling the truth in this long-running music feud? During his Back on Fig appearance, Kevin McCall opened up about how seeing clips of Chris Brown's massive success, like his $90 million tour, really got under his skin. He said it felt unfair that Chris lives like a superstar while he's still struggling to get by. But as Kevin explained how Chris supposedly ruined his life, something unexpected came out. He admitted to making a series of poor choices over the years, decisions that, in many people's eyes, may have played a much bigger role in his financial downfall than anything Chris Brown ever did. Kevin's story took another turn when he started talking about his financial choices. And this part really got people debating. He admitted that after getting around $500,000, he made a series of money moves that didn't exactly work out in his favor. After taxes, he was left with about $250,000, and that was supposed to be his last major check since he had already sold his publishing rights. Out of that money, Kevin decided to give his mother $50,000, which sounded generous but left him in a tough spot later. Many viewers pointed out that while helping family is important, sometimes it can put you deeper into financial trouble if you're not stable yourself. By the time he covered debts, child support, and taxes, Kevin was left with barely anything to build on. Instead of investing or saving, most of the money was gone. And he still had bills piling up. Commentators argued that his biggest mistake wasn't just bad luck, it was poor money management. They said if Kevin had used that last bit of cash to invest in his future, he could have helped his family long-term after getting back on his feet. But instead, he gave away what little he had left and ended up struggling again, leaving everyone wondering where were the people helping him when he needed it most. The commentator admitted it wasn't easy to be critical of Kevin McCall, because personally, he liked him. He shared that when they met, Kevin came off as super charming, respectful, and genuinely kind. But he also said it's clear Kevin might be letting the pain of what could have been cloud his judgment today. Kevin claimed that Chris Brown owed him $25,000 for 4 songs, though he even said he'd be fine just settling for that amount, suggesting it could have been more. Still, the commentator pointed out that $25,000 isn't what ruined Kevin's life. He explained that Kevin's financial struggles seemed to come more from ongoing bad decisions and unstable choices, not from a single unpaid balance. Some people believe mental health and personal challenges may have played a role too, but blaming it all on Chris didn't seem fair. The commentator also said that judging from how things unfolded, Kevin's public approach might have made the situation worse. He explained that over the years, Kevin has gone on social media rants against Chris Brown, making bold accusations and heated statements. That kind of energy, he said, made it nearly impossible for any resolution to happen. Even if Chris did owe him something, going about it in a public and aggressive way would only push things further apart. Looking back now, the commentator said what once seemed like a massive feud might not have been as serious as it appeared, but the damage was already done, not just to Kevin's reputation, but also also to any chance of settling things peacefully. Things got intense when old social media posts resurfaced, showing Kevin McCall making alarming statements about Chris Brown. The commentator made it clear he doesn't support or condone what was said, but he also wanted to clarify what actually happened. Kevin didn't directly threaten Chris or his family, but made a heated post implying that if Chris had anything to do with a past incident where Kevin was reportedly shot, there would be consequences. He wrote messages like, "Stop playing with rumors. I kept him alive 7 years in LA. Don't take my humbleness for weakness," which many felt crossed the line. Even though Kevin insisted his words were misunderstood and not literal, mentioning Chris's child at all pushed the situation too far in the public eye. The commentator explained that if Kevin knew the rumor about Chris being involved wasn't true, he could have easily ignored it or just cleared the air peacefully instead of letting emotions take over. After the backlash, with even major pages like the Shade Room posting about it, Kevin stood by his comments and refused to apologize. He defended himself by saying he only reacted out of anger and quoted, "The Bible says an eye for an eye," insisting that people shouldn't play with gossip about life or death situations. But in the end, the commentator said the bigger issue wasn't this specific incident, it was a pattern. These emotional outbursts, public drama, and past mistakes have likely caused more harm to Kevin's career and relationships than anything Chris Brown ever did. According to the commentator, Kevin McCall's biggest downfall didn't just come from his fallout with Chris Brown, it came from years of burning bridges across the industry. Over time, Kevin developed a reputation for going on emotional rants online, often targeting other artists out of nowhere. He'd hop on social media, post wild statements, and vent frustrations that many said damaged his professional relationships. Recently, Kevin even took aim at Bryson Tiller, someone who had absolutely nothing to do with him. Bryson had simply gifted Chris Brown a Lamborghini to celebrate joining his tour, and for some reason, that set Kevin off. He jumped on Twitter and began making strange remarks that confused fans and left many worried about his state of mind. The commentator explained that these kinds of public outbursts have made it difficult for Kevin to maintain industry connections. When you keep clashing with fellow artists, producers, and labels, it becomes nearly impossible to get features, collabs, or even business opportunities, no matter how talented you are. He also said that while Kevin's talent is undeniable, his emotions often get in the way. Some believe he's battling internal struggles or mental health challenges, while others think he's simply frustrated with how his career turned out. But one thing's for sure, when you keep attacking people who never wronged you, it stops being about beef and starts being about self-sabotage. Now, instead of asking why certain doors are closed, Kevin might need to look at how his own actions helped lock them. Because with his level of skill, he should be working with artists like Bryson Tiller, not feuding with them online. As the situation spiraled, people started digging deeper into Kevin McCall's past, and the pattern became clear. Every few months, a new name would pop up in his online rants. From former collaborators to executives, Kevin seemed to always have someone to blame. The commentator pointed out that this behavior pushed people away from wanting to work with him, no matter how much talent he had. He reminded viewers that Kevin once had huge potential, Grammy nominations, songwriting credits, and industry respect. But those same bridges he burned early on are the ones that could have kept his career alive today. Instead of using his platform to rebuild, he used it to vent, and that became his downfall. At one point, insiders claimed that even producers who supported him in the past stopped picking up his calls. They didn't want the drama attached to their names. The industry started viewing Kevin as a liability, someone unpredictable. And when your reputation gets that kind of tag in music, doors don't just close quietly, they slam shut fast. Even with all that tension, Kevin's story isn't one of pure bad luck. It's a tragic mix of talent, emotion, and missed chances. He's been open about struggling with mental health, and that vulnerability made fans sympathize with him. But sympathy alone couldn't save a career that kept getting tangled in controversy after controversy. People close to him said Kevin's downfall wasn't just financial or professional, it was emotional too. Every feud seemed to push him further into isolation, and instead of bouncing back, he dug deeper into frustration. Those emotional explosions on social media were like cries for help disguised as anger. The commentator said that's the saddest part, because Kevin wasn't some one-hit wonder. He had the pen, the voice, and the look to be huge. But somewhere along the line, pain started driving his decisions instead of purpose. And once that happens, no label, manager, or friend can save you until you want to save yourself. After the Bryson Tiller incident, Kevin reportedly tried to reach out privately to some of his old connections. But by then, most of them had already moved on. Some insiders claimed he even tried reconnecting with Chris Brown's camp through mutual acquaintances, but the tension was too deep and no one wanted to be the middleman. The commentator mentioned that Chris Brown himself never said much publicly about Kevin after that. He stayed focused on touring and new projects, which only made Kevin's frustration grow. Watching someone you used to work with dominate the charts while you struggle to book a studio session is a hard pill to swallow. And that bitterness, the commentator said, might have been the final piece of Kevin's self-destruction. He wasn't just battling the industry anymore, he was battling the reflection of what he could have been. That resentment turned into online feuds, emotional breakdowns, and eventually a career that never got the comeback it deserved. Behind all the drama, though, there's still one undeniable truth. Kevin McCall is gifted. Even his harshest critics admit his early songwriting shaped a part of modern R&B's sound. But talent alone can't survive without discipline, relationships, and emotional control. And somewhere in that mix, Kevin lost balance. Those who once admired him now watch from a distance, wondering if he'll ever find peace with his past. The commentator noted that every great artist faces setbacks, but Kevin's story stands out because it shows what happens when personal struggles collide with public pressure. He said Kevin's journey isn't just about losing fame. It's about losing trust, stability, and the chance to rewrite your story before it's too late. And until Kevin faces those inner battles and takes responsibility for what went wrong, the music world will keep remembering him, not for the hits he wrote, but for the chaos that followed. Not long after all the online chaos, Kevin McCall started showing signs that he wanted to make things right, at least in his own way. He began posting more positive messages, talking about faith, family, and redemption. But even then, he couldn't fully stay out of controversy. Every few weeks, a new post or video would pop up, reminding people of the temper that once derailed his rise. The commentator explained that people wanted to root for Kevin. They really did. But every time he seemed ready to rebuild, something dramatic would happen again. Whether it was a disagreement with another artist or a cryptic message hinting at betrayal, the pattern kept repeating. It's like Kevin was fighting two versions of himself, one that wanted peace and another that couldn't let go of the past. Those who knew him said he had moments of clarity, where he seemed grounded and focused. But they never lasted long enough to truly change his path. It's a painful reminder that talent can open doors, but stability keeps them open. As the years went by, the distance between Kevin and the mainstream music world grew wider. The new generation of artists barely mentioned him, and the ones who did spoke about him like a cautionary tale. The commentator said it was heartbreaking because Kevin should have been one of the biggest names in R&B. He explained that even though Kevin's voice and pen were top tier, his name became more associated with conflict than creativity. Industry insiders claimed that some labels quietly blacklisted him. Not officially, but just enough to make sure his calls didn't get returned. And in music, silence can hurt worse than criticism. Still, some fans refuse to forget him. They continue streaming his old songs and sharing interviews, saying he deserved another shot. But that comeback could only happen if Kevin proved he could handle success differently this time. The problem was, no one was sure if he wanted to. Then came a moment that surprised everyone. Kevin hinted that he was working on a documentary about his life. He said it would expose the truth about what really happened between him and Chris Brown, and also tell his side of how the industry used and discarded him. That announcement got attention fast. People were divided. Some were curious, others rolled their eyes. The commentator noted that this could have been Kevin's perfect chance to clear his name. But the way he promoted it sounded more like a new feud brewing. Instead of marketing it as a story of redemption, he leaned into the controversy again, teasing explosive truths and industry secrets. The trailer clips that surfaced showed him speaking passionately about betrayal and survival, but critics said it felt more like another rant than a reflection. Fans who hoped for growth worried that Kevin was stuck in the same loop, still fighting ghosts that no longer cared to respond. As of now, Kevin McCall's legacy sits in a strange place, part respect, part regret. He's remembered for writing timeless records and helping shape one of the biggest stars in modern R&B, but also for letting pride and pain take over. The commentator said that's what makes Kevin's story so haunting, because it's not just about losing fame, it's about losing peace. In interviews, Kevin still talks with passion about music and faith, saying he'll rise again when the time is right. But many wonder if the industry will ever trust him enough to give him another platform. The talent is still there. That was never the problem. The problem was what came after the spotlight faded. Those who once stood beside him say he's a good man at heart, just caught in the wrong storm. But storms don't last forever. And maybe, just maybe, Kevin still has one more chapter left to write if he learns how to rebuild without burning what's left behind. Even after everything that went down, Kevin McCall's story keeps pulling attention because it feels unfinished. He still drops snippets of unreleased music online, reminding everyone that the raw talent never disappeared. It just got buried under years of frustration and bad press. The commentator said every time Kevin posts a verse or freestyle, people flood the comments saying, "Man, this is what we miss." But the same cycle always returns. A few days of praise, then another heated post or emotional breakdown that overshadows the art. It's like he can't escape the chaos he once created. Industry folks quietly admit they'd love to see him make a real comeback, but they need to see consistency first. Not just musically, but mentally and emotionally too. For now, Kevin stands as one of the most complicated figures in R&B. A reminder that fame can fade faster than talent. And sometimes, the hardest battles aren't with other artists. They're with yourself. Even though Kevin McCall burned a lot of bridges throughout his career, it turns out not everyone turned their back on him. One surprising name stepped up. Young Thug. The rapper actually reached out to Kevin on Twitter, offering to help him out financially. In his message, Thug told Kevin to get in touch, saying he'd give him the $25,000 he was asking for, and even suggested that Chris Brown might do the same if he reached out the right way. The commentator applauded Young Thug for that gesture, saying it showed real compassion, but he also pointed out that the issue runs way deeper than money, because at the end of the day, $25,000 might help someone pay bills for a short while, but it can't fix the emotional wounds or repair broken relationships that took years to fall apart. He added that Kevin's real battle isn't with money or fame, it's with healing and rebuilding his life from the ground up. No check can replace peace of mind or the power of discipline. Still, the fact that someone like Young Thug reached out proves that not everyone in the industry sees Kevin as a lost cause. Some still want to see him win. The commentator closed by turning the question to the audience. Do you think Kevin McCall's downfall came from his own choices, or was he really mistreated by the industry? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment to keep this conversation going.